a marathon match. And of course, Siegemund was playing those tactical games. You know, she was time wasting a little bit. She was, you know, getting a little bit agitated, you know, getting the umpire involved. You know, she does all those things. And ALEX, mentally strong throughout, just kept her cool and just played the game. And that's what she did very, very well in this one, which could have easily gone to Siegemund. I mean, again, like I said, chances were there. But let me know in the comments below. How's ALEX going to do against potentially Swiatek? Because
ALEX EALA has just delivered one of the most emotionally charged and mentally resilient performances of her young career, taking down Laura Siegemund in a dramatic 3-set battle at the Miami Open 2026. This wasn't just a tennis match. It was a test of composure, patience, and mental strength against one of the most controversial rhythm-breaking players on tour. From the very beginning, it was clear this match would not be straightforward. ALEX came in prepared, not just for the rallies but for the psychological battle that often comes with facing C. Known for stretching the limits of time, rules, disrupting flow, and constantly engaging officials, Siegemund tried to turn this into another one of her trademark mental wars. Early on, it seemed like her tactics were having an effect. In the first set, ALEX actually looked like the better player. She was sharp, composed, and dictating the rallies with confidence. However, Siegemund began disrupting the rhythm with repeated pauses, complaints about crowd movement, and unusually long service routines. The flow of the match kept getting interrupted, and every time ALEX started to build momentum, something would break it. What should have been a smooth set turned into a frustrating stop-start battle. Despite being outplayed in stretches, Siegemund managed to drag the set into a tiebreak. And in typical fashion, she capitalized on the disrupted rhythm to steal the set. It was a turning point that could have easily shaken a young player. But things escalated even further at the start of the second set. Just as play was about to resume, Siegemund suddenly took a long washroom break, staying off court for around 12 minutes. The timing once again disrupted ALEX's rhythm and cooled down the match. It was another moment where many players would have lost focus or composure. This is where ALEX EALA showed her true strength. Instead of reacting emotionally, she reset herself mentally. She didn't complain, didn't argue, and didn't let frustration take over. When Siegemund returned, ALEX stepped back onto the court with a completely different mindset, focused, calm, and determined. The second set became a statement. ALEX refused to let the delays affect her and began dictating play from the very first games. She controlled the tempo, attacked with confidence, and stayed locked into her own rhythm. Siegemund tried to slow things down again, but this time it had no effect. Game by game, ALEX built pressure and took control. She remained disciplined and capitalized on key moments, eventually taking the set 6-3. The momentum had completely shifted, and for the first time in the match, Siegemund looked out of answers. Heading into the third set, the battle was no longer just about tennis. It was about endurance and mental strength. Could ALEX maintain her composure against continued disruptions? The answer was clear from the very start. ALEX looked like she had fully figured out C's tactics. She stayed calm through long games, repeated deuces, and yet more attempts to break her concentration. Siegemund once again tried to involve the umpire, complaining about spectators entering and claiming distractions, but this time the officials didn't entertain it. They recognized what was happening, and more importantly, ALEX didn't let any of it affect her focus. She kept her attention on the game point by point, refusing to be drawn into any unnecessary drama. As the match extended past the 3-hour mark, every game became a battle of patience. Siegemund continued to stretch the time between points, but ALEX matched her endurance without losing her composure. She stayed disciplined, waited for her chances, and when they came, she took them. Just like in the second set, Ayala broke through at the right moments. With another 6-3 scoreline, she sealed the match and completed an incredible comeback victory. It was a win built not just on skill, but on mental toughness. The moment the match ended, Ayala let out a powerful victory cry. It was a release of all the pressure and restraint she had carried throughout the match. She had held her emotions in for over 3 hours, and in that moment, everything came out. On the other side, Siegemund's reaction told its own story. After spending the entire match trying to control the tempo with delays and interruptions, she offered only a brief and half-hearted handshake before walking away. There was no acknowledgement of the battle, only visible frustration. This is not new behavior for Sund. Tennis fans have seen similar situations before, including her controversial match against Coco Gauff at the US Open. In that match, too, there were repeated delays, time violations, and arguments with officials. The crowd saw through it, and history seemed to repeat itself. Here in Miami, at that time, she made an excuse of bias against her by referees and the audience. Laura Siegemund, visibly rattled by her defeat, broke down in tears during the press conference. She tried to portray herself as the victim, insisting that it wasn't just the audience, but Coco who had wronged her. In an attempt to garner sympathy, Siegemund tried to shift the narrative. But the reality was already clear to everyone. Coco had already called out the unfair tactics from both her and the umpire, exposing the true story.
Less than a 0 because they treated me bad. Like, they treated me like I was a cheater, like I was like trying, sneaky ways to win this match or something. They treated me like I was a bad person. But there are people who are throwing rackets, who are screaming, who are like making bad gestures.
But the key difference this time was ALEX EALA's response. She didn't get drawn into the drama. She didn't lose her composure. Instead, she let her game do the talking. In the end, despite Laura Siegemund's efforts to play the victim, the truth was unmistakable. Ayala exposed the manipulative tactics Laura had tried to use throughout the match, and the crowd wasn't fooled. Laura's attempts to slow down the momentum and disrupt Ayala's rhythm were clear to everyone, and when she tried to argue with the umpire about unfair treatment, it only further highlighted her desperation. Despite Laura's attempts to paint herself as the victim, ALEX EALA stood firm, not only winning the match but also standing up for integrity and fairness. Laura Siegemund's attempt to manipulate the situation ultimately backfired, and it was clear that the audience had sided with Ayala. This victory is significant not just because Ayala advances to the next round, but because of how she handled the situation. At such a young age, she displayed a level of maturity and mental strength that many experienced players struggled to maintain. She understood exactly what she was up against and stayed prepared for it. She anticipated the disruptions and refused to let them affect her performance. That kind of composure under pressure is what separates good players from great ones. Now, moving forward in the Miami Open, Ayala carries more than just a win. She carries confidence, belief, and a growing reputation as one of the mentally toughest players on tour. The road ahead is still long, but performances like this show that she is ready for the challenge. ALEX EALA didn't just win this match. She proved that she belongs on the big stage. And if she continues with this mindset, she could go much further than anyone expected. In the end, this match will be remembered as more than just a second-round victory. It was a defining moment that showcased ALEX EALA's mental toughness, discipline, and maturity on one of the biggest stages against a player known for disrupting rhythm and testing patience. Ayala didn't just survive. She adapted, stayed composed, and rose above it all.
Performances like
This build champions, and if she continues to handle pressure with this level of control, there's no doubt that this is only the beginning of something special. The Miami Open may still have many rounds to go, but one thing is
certain.
Alex Ayala has announced herself, and the tennis world is now watching very closely. What did you think of this intense battle between Alex Ayala and Laura Siegemund? Do you believe Siegemund's tactics crossed the line, or were they simply part of the game? And how impressed were you with Ayala's composure, especially at such a young age, staying calm under constant pressure and still coming out on top? Could this be a turning point in her career at the Miami Open?
And do you see
her going even deeper into the tournament after a performance like this? Let me know your thoughts below. Was this just a win or the arrival of a future star?